Hari Om to all the Atmajyotis present here and on YouTube. So today I'll be presenting Shloka 2.62, which is Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha. So first let us start with the chanting. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodobijayate. So this is the word-to-word meaning. Dhyayataha, contemplating. Vishayan, sense objects. Pumsaha, of a person. Sangaha, attachment. Teshu, to them, which is sense objects. Upajayate, arises. Sangat, from attachment. Sanjayate, develops. Kamaha, desire. Kamat, from desire. Krodha, anger. Abhijayate, arises. So what this sloka means is, whatever we constantly think of, we are attached to it. Like I'm somewhere, we have went on a holiday. Then what will we be worried about? Oh, what's happening? Thieves, that too, especially some rich businessman, they'll be really worried. Oh, what's happening in my home? Somebody will break into my house and they'll steal all my money. So that is attachment. Then that attachment becomes so big that later that causes desire. Like I want more, I want more. And if anyone tells, oh, it's, your house is not nice, it's so bad, and not at all good architecture, then you'll get really angry. You feel like just telling whatever you feel, and whether it's right or wrong, you don't care. You just feel like scolding them because they're talking bad about something that you like or you're attached to. So this desire, which can also be told as greediness, leads to anger. So it's not that we shouldn't have desire, but it's really important whether it's selfish or selfless. So desire is the if it's selfish, it can also, there are several dangerous things because we do it for ourselves. Few times it can also affect somebody else. So our desires, we need to choose the right kind of desire, and more than anybody else, it affects us. It affects our health or our mental health. So we need to be we need to know what kind of desires we have. Having desire is not at all a problem, because desire is what gives us that motivation or encouragement to do things. I want Benz or any other car. You work hard. Why? Because of your desire. If we don't have desire, then you don't think about the car, and even you don't work hard for the car. So you need to have the desire, but you but if the results don't come, then you should be you shouldn't feel sad, because it is the law. It is the law of karma, and we have seen that in our previous shlokas. So we need to be aware of what kind of desires we have, and if it's dangerous and it affects the society around us, it can cause anger. So too much of desire here is really dangerous. So I have a story to share with you. So once there once there was a farmer, he was very poor. Then he got a hen, and every day it was giving one egg. Then what happened is he became very rich. One day he thought, daily giving me eggs. So inside its stomach, there should be many eggs, right? So then what he did is he cut the hen's stomach, and when he saw the hen's stomach, there was no egg. And one more thing, what happened is the hen was now dead, and the eggs that at least he was getting daily and could make a living out of it, even he lost that. So by this we can learn that if we are too greedy, it'll affect us more than anybody else. Yeah, even though the hen died and a lot of pain was caused to it, but still the man suffered from it. The man had to live without money, because his money he'll have, but but he had the limited money, and he could live, if he wants food, something expensive, that was not enough. So it affects us, and we shouldn't be greedy, and we need to be happy with what we have. So with this, I would like to end the contemplation part. Hari Om.
Very nice, Namit. I would like all of you to ask question to Namit. It could be a genuine question or a question to help Namit deepen his answer. What kind of questions you may want to ask? Yeah, good.
Namit, how would you apply this understanding in your day-to-day life?
By this shloka, we can the main thing is whatever we constantly think of, it leads to attachment. Attachment leads to desire, and desire leads to anger. So in our day-to-day lives, we constantly think about so many things. As I gave you the example of the businessman. The businessman will be constantly thinking about his house. So how is my house? What happened to it? Will thieves come and rob my house? They're constantly thinking about that. So they have attachment to the house. Then their attachment is leads to desire. Like, I want more property, and if anybody tells something about it, they get angry. Desire. Then they get angry on them. They try to do that is against the law, or anything unethical. Is it clear?
Yeah, I get that's the example, but for you, how would you personally use it?
So for me personally, like how you're asking how I in my personal life, I
Yeah,
can apply this.
yeah,
In my life, I would not get greedy, and I would be like, whatever I have, I need to be happy with it, and I shouldn't be too greedy, because it's very great. So many people don't have the luxury or happiness we are enjoying. So how I can apply is that it's good to take care of things, and but not have attachment. For example, house itself. It's okay to take care of the house, keep it clean, but you don't need to be attached to it, because everything in this world is temporary. So how I would apply this is by being happy of whatever I have. Obviously, we need to have desires, and last class and this class we have understood that desire is what gives us the motivation to do things or actions basically. So I would apply it in this way.
Right, yeah. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes, Aditi.
Namit, you said earlier that having desires, when you have desires, you have to be aware of whether it's selfless or selfish. And you said it's not good when it's selfish, but if it is selfless desires, then it is okay. I sort of disagree on that because I don't see how selfless desire is okay. So can you like explain what you meant by that?
So selfless desires is so that it helps all the people around you. Like you have a desire, let's say there's an orphanage near your house. Then you want to help those people. Then you have a desire that I want to help, and it's very long term, like 2 or 3 years. You felt like helping, then some corona came, and third wave, second wave came. Then then what happened is you couldn't fulfill your desire. So then when you fulfilled your desire, it not only made the people whom you gave food or whatever happy, but also it gave you happiness. So that's what I meant by it.
But don't you think that not all selfless desires need to be for a good cause?
Like, can you give an example?
See, now you gave an example of helping like sick people or, you know, things like that. But what if, imagine you're helping a friend with someone who wants something, but that is, and like whatever you do towards helping your friend might not be very reasonable, or like you keep getting angry when someone doesn't let you do it. So isn't that the same as what happens when you're being selfish and it is a desire?
So helping friend also. Also, I told that it's important what kind of desire, other than selfless or selfish. We also need to see how it's good, and obviously if your friend may have something bad, like wanting something bad which is not good. So obviously we need to reject for that.
So you're saying that we have to be mindful of whether these selfless desires are good or not, right?
Yeah.
How do you decide whether the selfless desire is good or not? How do you decide?
How will it help?
No, that is not the
Obviously,
question. The question is, how will you decide? What will you use to decide? Excellent example that Aditi gave. So you want to help your friend. You say, oh, it's selfless desire. But let's say your friend says, hey, steal some money. I want to use it to, say, go on party. You are saying, oh, it's selfless desire. I will help my friend. I'll steal money. I'll give it to him.
yeah.
Okay, so now that is what you also said just now, that it cannot be just like that. You have to be mindful. And that is what you and Aditi concluded. My question is, how do you decide that a selfless desire, whatever the selfless desire, is the right one or not?
Based on our thoughts.
But let's say you never had a thought that stealing is bad. Let's say nobody told you. Then your thought may say, okay, my friend is asking, my friend is really somebody who I need to help. So let me help my friend.
Yeah, so then we'll have the same mind, and I think he's similar to me, and and we don't see any differences, and we try to help. We have that kind of a mindset.
But the question is not that. See, in this case, if you help your friend by stealing money, it is not a good idea to help in such a situation or in such a way, right?
Yeah.
Why is the question. What makes you decide, oh, this is not a good selfless desire?
Because because we'll have imbibed value that it's not good to steal, and we should never steal. So that thought and tells us that we shouldn't steal.
Okay, but that's why I'm asking you, what if nobody had taught you that thought? Take another example. You're in the exam. Your friend says, "Hey, Namit, I have not prepared at all. Please help me, da. If you don't help me, my father will scold me. Please help me. Today, I just want to copy only for today." So, out of pity, out of your sympathy for your friend, you allow him to copy.
Yeah.
So, selfless desire, right?
It is obviously selfless desire, but it's not something good.
How do you decide something is good or bad? That's the question.
Um, a bit, Based on what we know, and how will it benefit them?
It is going to benefit. He's going to pass the exam. His father will not scold him.
And also we need to see whether it's good. It's a good. It's whether like if it's legal as per the exam rules or not.
Forget about legal. Forget about legal. Let's say a teacher is not there, and nobody had come and told you that copying is bad, copying is good. Nobody has told you. Then how do you decide?
Then one possibility may be the friend might show like that it's okay, you can copy, because they would have thought that it's right, but if they don't let them copy, they might have seen, or somebody might have told them that you shouldn't copy, and you shouldn't copy,
No,
and
let's say such things are not taught to either you or your friend. Now your friend is saying, I want to copy from you.
yeah.
And you are saying not a good idea. I'm asking you, how are you deciding? If nobody had taught you it's a good idea or a bad idea, is there any way that you can decide? Does Bhagavad Gita give you any guidance about how to decide what is the right desire?
Yeah, it does give.
How? What?
Like we have seen in the shlokas that great people always are selfless, and they help others.
True, that is true. That you already have established.
Yeah.
You're not allowing your friend to copy for your sake. You're allowing your friend to copy for his sake. So selfless, right?
Yeah, but it won't help my friend also, because later if he gets caught, then
Let's assume he will not get caught. Let's assume he will not get caught. The teacher is not there. The invigilator is not there. He'll not get caught. You will also not get caught.
then I'll think that it will it because it helping him copy will not be a good thing, because it's like as a friend we need to always help them to be on the good side, to help the friend to be on the good side. So then doing that it will be unfriendly, and it will prove that we are not like friends, and so that's why we That's one of the factors that tells us what's right and what's wrong.
All right. I think Manya has been trying to say something or ask something.
How is helping your friend a selfless desire?
Is it a question to me or Namit?
Anybody, but then I don't think helping your friend is a selfless desire. Selfless is something you do when you don't expect anything in return. Selfless. Anything that you feel is a selfless thing is something where you don't expect anything in return for what you're doing. But then in friendship, yeah, 1 second. I'll just complete this, whatever I had in mind before I forget. So, yeah. So, now one thing. So, when you do selfless is something that is good. So, let's say giving food to someone who hasn't eaten for days, then that's something that's very good and selfless. So, now even if it's your friend, you should be giving him food. And even if someone in the past who's done something very bad to you, then you still it's still a good thing to be giving him food if he hasn't eaten for days. That's one thing. But now coming back to this exam thing, so would you still help your classmate who just hit you or hit you just before your exam or something like that? Would you still help him in the exam? Somehow I don't think that's not somehow I feel that it's not a selfless desire. And
Let's assume,
secondly,
Manya,
why not?
let's assume for the time being that you are allowing your friend to copy from you and you're not expecting him to show his answers. Let's say you say it's okay, you only copy from me, I don't expect anything back from you. You pass or fail, that is your problem. Okay, and in the next exam also you don't help me, I don't expect anything. So you're selfless, right?
That's still not selfless because you know he's your friend, and don't you have that desire that he shouldn't be scolded by his father? So that's not a selfless desire. You still are.
Forget the fact that he's a friend. Imagine, your 10th board exam. Some stranger is sitting next to you, and the stranger says, Manya, please, he or she would have read your name. Manya, please, my father will beat me. Please allow me to copy. Selfless. You don't
Yeah,
expect
that's
anything back from that
selfless.
person. Is that
That's selfless.
is that the right
So
desire?
here, is that the right desire? So here, one thing is, yeah. So I would think whether helping him copy is the best thing for him. So now someone's really hungry and he's asking me for a food that's in my hand, but that food in my hand is poisoned. Is it the right thing to give him that poisoned food to just remove his hunger that's just for this second, which might kill him? Which obviously will kill him in the near future. So is it the right thing to do there? Copying will help him this second, but will it help him in his coming future? So that's the question we'll have to ask ourselves. But if it were reality, maybe I would help that person if he says his father would scold him or something. But just in the perspective of what is right or wrong, then yeah, I think because copying, I wouldn't say in a board exam, but just in some random class test, it doesn't really harm anybody, but it might save him or her from some beatings. So,
Okay, so that is
but
one
that's the
perspective.
right thing. But that's not the right thing.
Okay, let's listen to other perspectives. Let's see what others have to say. So Namit has spoken, Namanya shared this view. Now, Anita, Aditya, what's your perspective? Who wants to share? What do you feel? Is it okay or not okay?
I feel it's like a selfless desire when it helps more people. Like the people it helps is outweighs the people it does not help. Like let's say, for example, there's like there's like a battle or something.
Okay, thanks.
sticking to this
Yeah,
example.
yeah. Come to this example. What do you think? Is it okay to allow your friend, the neighbor, to copy or not copy?
I don't. In the long term, I don't think it's okay. Because
What do you mean long term? So how do you
Yeah.
decide when something like that comes? How do you decide what is the right thing to do? Because ultimately you're talking about, I have to do selfless actions. So
Yeah.
selfless, we decided, where I don't expect. Okay, fair enough. I don't expect him to allow me to copy. That is established,
Yeah.
right? But now, is it the right desire that you need to take action on?
Yeah, you should not help him because him or her, because in the long term it won't help them. Because let's say they constantly depend on someone to help them get answers, then it'll never help them. They always, even when they're like writing their findings, or when they're doing their job or something, they'll depend on someone to help them do something for them, instead of being independent and being able to use their own head.
Very good. So what is the criteria when a situation like this comes? What is the criteria, or how do you know that, yeah, this is the right selfless desire? Because even in selfless desire, there can be, the one which is right and the one which is not so right. So how do you decide? Because selfless alone is not enough. Yes, Aditi.
Uncle, I think it's to think of their benefit in the long run and not just for your temporary issues.
Okay. So can you elaborate further? I
Yes,
think
Uncle.
this is what, yeah.
So in the same example, in the case of exams, I agree with what Aditya said, because if someone starts, depending on me, for example, like throughout all the tests that happen later in life, if I am not there in the same class, or if they have to go somewhere else and write an exam, they will need someone to give them extra, help while writing the exam. So if you don't help them now, then they'll at least get used to the fact that they will have to study by themselves and do it all by themselves, and then they'll come preparing much harder for the next exam. So how it benefits them in the long run, like for the next few exams, is more important than how much benefit it will give them in this present exam.
Very nice. Does Anita believe or accept this viewpoint?
Yes, uncle, I agree with
Anything more you want to add, subtract?
that. Uncle, this is totally different, but I don't agree with the selfless and selfish desire thing. I don't think that it's any better if you have selfless desires. I generally think that any desire you have can lead to anger and can cause problems for you also.
Uncle, because not all selfless desires are of good intentions, right?
But so therefore, what is the right way to then state that? So then, can you not get away from this cycle?
Uncle, I think there should be like a certain limit to how much you're encouraging your limits to go on.
If you say limit numbers, okay, out of 5 desires, I will work on 2 desires, other 3, I will not. So will that also solve? Then you'll always have a thinking, oh, there are 3 more that I have not yet. When will I pick up the 3 more? Yeah, Aditya, yeah.
I think the criteria should be, does it help more people than it does not help?
Does it help more than does it not?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that criteria sound okay to Manya?
Yeah, I think what we're talking here about is like the utilitarian principle, good for more people or more good for more people. So again, so if like the example I said about Anita gave in like helping your friend during an exam. So yeah, definitely it's not good for that person when you're helping him. Just like how giving poison food for someone who hasn't eaten for days. That's one thing. But the other perspective would be for an exam, let's say a competitive exam. So you help a person who hasn't really worked hard, and probably, or let's say due to some reason he just didn't prepare, but then when you help him, then you're increasing his marks. Maybe if the answers that you helped him were correct, then let's say you increase his marks in a few marks. So the person who actually prepared and worked hard throughout the year, you're actually doing bad for that person who did who did the right thing to be done at that time. So like when you should stop doing good for someone is when that good thing can become bad or can hurt some other person. So that's where you need to stop. So the criteria could be a selfless action or a selfless desire wherein you want to do good to more number of people.
But in this particular case, there's only one person. You're doing good to only one person, by allowing him to copy. So how do you apply this criteria? It is not more people. There's only one person.
Like this can if you don't allow him to copy, then you're doing more good to more people.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, you're not doing good to him or her by letting them copy, because as we said earlier, in the longer term, it does not help them.
So in the longer term, that person hasn't still learned his or her lesson.
It's a very momentary success.
So
Yeah.
you made that person depend on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's what I meant, like giving poison food for someone who's hungry. So I think you're not doing good to anybody, but even if you think you're doing good to one person, you're doing bad to many other people, even if you are in this illusion that you're doing good to that one person, but you're still aware for sure that you're doing bad to many others.
Okay, now with all this discussion, what is the summary from Namit?
Sir, actually, this is related to what Manya and Aditya were talking.
Go ahead.
Sir, so also it's like if we let them copy, for example, let's take it as our own friend. Then also it's not good. Even they might because if they're friends, we need to. It's causing difficulty for them in the future exams. So we ourselves are doing something bad for something bad for others, leaving them copy and always they'll depend on you, like how Aditya told.
Okay, excellent. So you see, therefore, it is not about do this, don't do this. Your teacher might have come and told you copying is bad. If the teacher also not told you, then you need to be able to apply your own mind and discretion and arrive at this. So what is the right thing to do in a given situation? That is dharma. Dharma means it's not a do this, don't do this kind of a principle. It is not about good and bad. It is not at all about good and bad. It is about what is sustainable, what is natural, what is something that even if the action seems to be momentarily very destructive, which is going to leave you with peace, freedom, that is dharma. So the indicator, you need to be able to see with whatever the action, what is the outcome? Is the outcome something that can become poisonous? Or is the outcome something that is sweet and harmonious? Based on that, you need to be alert, aware, and allow such desire to be fulfilled. Then what Namit said is right. Because such a desire will naturally lead to you feeling peaceful, the others feeling peaceful, you feeling happy, the others feeling happy. It will naturally come. So it should naturally be the outcome of such an action. Does this make sense to all of you? Can Manya summarize what is the outcome of this entire discussion?
Yes, Vijayji. So here, first of all, we started off saying that selfless desires are bad and selfless desires are good, and all selfish desires are bad and they lead to us feeling angry or sad. So this is how we started and started our discussion. So throughout the discussion, we came up with different perspectives on the situation of exam where your friend needs help and whether you need to help him or not. So one thing we understood is that helping him at the moment or any other action where you have the desire to help someone which is selfless, here you need to think of only one thing, whether helping him is doing good to him at that particular time or will it do good to him in the long run, what is better for him. The second question would be, if you're doing good to him, is it only doing good to him or doing bad to somebody else? But all of this becomes a part of our dharma. So the fundamental question we need to ask ourselves is it my dharma to help him here or is it my dharma to not do this particular action but try and help him in some other way? For example, let's say today my friend asks me to help him copy, but maybe I can politely tell him no, I won't do this, and just kind of politely tell him no, and maybe for the next time help him during the preparation process, probably teach him or tell him that this is important and I'll tell you how to be able to write this properly in the answer sheet. That is the better thing to do, where you're helping him, and that also becomes your dharma as a friend. One example from Mahabharat would be where you see two different kinds of friendship, one between Duryodhana and Karna, that is also a strong friendship, and the other one between Krishna and Arjuna. So here in these two types of friendship, they do Krishna does his duty by helping Arjuna to realize his dharma and to do the right thing, which is to perform his duty at that particular moment and not think about anything, including the result. But here, Karna not only encourages Duryodhana to do the adharmic thing, but also he kind of ignites his anger. He asks him to do much more ghastly things than that has come to his mind already. So, all of this again revolves around that one fundamental question: what is my dharma, and should I be doing it or not?
Excellent. Any other points to be added, subtracted, modified by anyone else? Is this summary acceptable to all? When something is acceptable to all, what do we call such a thing?
Universal truth.
Universal. But sometimes it is not so easy to arrive at it, like these examples. That is why it is said, Dharma Sankata. In Kannada, there is a word called Dharma Sankata. Because in situations, how do you apply the right decision? Sankata means it's a very tricky situation. My friend, is crying. I'll be beaten up. A beggar in front of you. Oh, I'm so hungry. So should you not? Would you not? So this is where it's not about good or bad, right or wrong. It is about, is it a sustainable? Is this the right way? Is this the thing that sustains? Yeah, Manya.
So, is it the dharma of a king to keep up his promise or to do something that is good for his subjects as a whole, even if he is breaking his promise?
Can you give an example? That way I can understand from where you're coming.
There are multiple examples. One from the Ramayana, where Dasharatha gives this promise that he'd send Rama to the forest for 12 years for exile. But this is a promise that he kept up. But it is all, isn't it is dharma to do something that's good for his subjects as a whole? Because if Rama would have been there, then that is the best. To have Rama as the king is the best for his subjects. That's one thing. Secondly, somehow isn't it not correct that Shantanu questions Ganga on why she is drowning the child in the river? I know that there are like so many backstories and all of that was meant to be for the right thing to happen or for all of it to happen. But isn't it just by the perspective of that situation? You don't know anything that is going to happen or has happened already. But wasn't it the right thing what Shantanu did? He broke his promise, but that was only because his subject, his son, or all of his sons before were drowned and died. So his wife was doing the wrong thing, but still he stood against his wife and he broke his promise but did his dharma, right? So which of these two are correct?
Okay, what is an excellent question? So what is the perspective? Yeah.
I feel when it helps their subjects as a whole more is more important to keep up than keeping up a promise.
So in this case, she gave two particular examples.
Yeah, I feel
Dasharatha sending Rama to Vanavasa. And another example is Shantanu stopping Ganga from drowning Bhishma.
Yeah, in both the cases, I feel they should have not kept up their promise, because that way it would have helped more people than it would have if they had kept up their promise. Especially in the case of Dasharatha, because Rama deserved the right life and not be abandoned. I mean, not abandoned, but like sent to Vanavasa and to the forest.
So now that all of you know the Ramayana, it's only because Rama went to Vanavasa that Rama lost Sita, and because of that only he found Ravana and he killed Ravana. So he did a greater good.
That is true.
Uncle, this is like how we say that everything happens for a reason at a certain time.
So then how do you answer Manya's question?
No, but we're only speaking from Dasharatha's certain example, right? We're not talking about the Ramayana as a whole. We're talking about whether it was right of Dasharatha to sign.
In that moment.
Yeah, in that moment, I feel it was wrong of him to sign.
See, the advantage we have is the entire Ramayana has already happened. We know the final climax.
Yeah.
So we can sit leisurely and we can pass our judgment. What he did is wrong, what he did is right. Our Manya will bring up such questions because that is her professional aspiration. But knowing the whole story and giving a judgment is different. But being in that situation and acting based on the circumstantial knowledge is what you need to be aware of. Knowing what he knows, okay? For example, when Shantanu decided, he was torn between his own personal desire to continue to have Ganga as his wife versus seeing by his own eyes, she killing the children. So in one sense, what would you do rather than what has happened? See, we are not in the Bhagavad Gita contemplation to pass judgment on what they did is right or wrong, because that's a never-ending story. They did what they did. It's already done and recorded in the story, right? But what is that you and I can learn from that? If let's say you and I are in a similar context, in that situation, what would you do? Is a more important question. So you and I can sit and say, okay, what Dasharatha did is right or wrong. Shantanu did right or wrong. That's a viewpoint, which is okay. But it helps from a maybe, I can say, okay, if you and I both agree that, what he did is right, then both of will say, yeah, we agreed. But therefore, let's put the question more in terms of dharma and what I would do. Of course, it's not that, you'll have to face a similar situation. You will have different situations. Why those situations are there in Ramayana and Mahabharata? To help you become aware of many aspects like this. So Dasharatha felt, I've made a promise. Please understand, a promise means what? It's a word you have spoken. And for many, the word they have spoken is far more important to keep up the promise, to keep up the word. Because it is like it's said once. So it's a very deep sense of I've given this promise. How can I break this promise? And it's a very deep sense of inner beingness from where they would have made that promise. So for them, not keeping the word is amounting to sacrilege. So when you see that kind of a background, because when is the story happening of Dasharatha? It's happening in a space and time when people, it's called Satya Yuga, when people did not necessarily have to have written contracts. My word against your word. I abide by what I say to you. I have said it. When I am saying, I did not have a feeling that, I will break it. So it depends upon who is saying and in what context they are saying. But in terms of Dharma, what would you do is a more relevant question to consider. Make sense? Any other viewpoints on Manya's question? So Manya said, she has some other class and she has dropped because of that, but that's okay. Any other questions on what Manya raised? Any other views? Namit, Aditi, Anita, Aditya? No? All right. So, shall we end the contemplation of this shloka? Yeah? Thank you very much, Namit. Wonderful presentation and wonderful discussion because of, your prompting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So we'll stop the recording of this.